Hello, I'm back with another recommendation for you. So, about 2 years ago, I read a book called Human Acts by Kang. And I read it not because I knew who she was, I read it because of the cover. I am someone that judges a book by its cover. If the cover does not look interesting, it could be the most amazing story ever written by humankind, but if I think the front cover is boring, I don't think I'd read it. So that's probably my fault, not the book's fault. The reason it interested me was because it stood out. It wasn't colourful, it didn't have pretty designs on it. It was on the table in Kyobo, the book chain store in Korea, and around it were all these really colourful books. And in the centre there was this grey book with a bullet. It just said Human Acts, Kang. I thought, oh, that looks very interesting, so I will buy it, and it sat on my bookshelf for about 6 months. And then I was going on holiday, and I was like, oh, it's a small book, I can take it and read. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know what Kang wrote about. When I read it, it was quite dark, it's quite deep, but it's meant to be. It's a book about the Gwangju Uprising in 1980. A piece of Korean history that I was not as familiar with. I'm very used to learning about the ancient parts of Korea, not the more modern parts. So I didn't know as much, but now I've read more on it. Now, I'm not talking about Human Acts today. I am going to talk about this book, The Vegetarian. Kang, near the end of last year, won the Nobel Peace Prize in Literature. Just after that, a martial law was declared in South Korea for one night. So Human Acts became another massive talking point in Korea. Lots of people went out and bought it and read it. The other day, I was looking on Instagram, and the bookstore, one of the bookstores I follow, a second-hand bookstore in Bampo, Sore, was going to host a Kang talk. And I was like, that sounds incredible. I have The Vegetarian on my shelf. I should read it. So I picked up the book, and I opened it on the train, and I was taken back 13 years to when I read Kafka's Metamorphosis for drama. And Metamorphosis was a dark book. If you've never read it, it's a good book to read. From what I remember, it's about a family that doesn't appreciate the son that goes and works, and eventually he turns into a bug, a beetle, and the father throws a apple at him and he will eventually die. And, sorry, spoilers, but that's what I remember of it. I remember that they were very ungrateful for his work as well. The Vegetarian is similar. The Vegetarian, I read it in about a week, and I wish I'd taken longer on to read it. I kind of rushed it because I enjoyed reading it. It's very dark, it's very heavy. In its own way, it's intense. There isn't a part that stops. There isn't a part that stops being intense. It's emotional, but in a different way than other books I've read. Normally, if I say a book is emotional, I mean I've cried while reading it. I didn't cry for The Vegetarian. I felt intense anger. The whole time I read it, I was angry and frustrated and annoyed and hopeful. I wasn't emotional in the sad sense. I was emotional in the I want something to change sense. Because this book highlights a lot of issues I think society doesn't want to accept. It talks about mental health, it talks about women's rights, the view of women in society. And the main character, Young-hee, she has a nightmare that turns her into a vegetarian. And you read her nightmares, you read these visions, these dreams, and I always made sure to read them twice so that I could understand them. But you never read the story from her point of view, you read it from her husband, her brother-in-law, her sister. I don't think I ever truly 100% liked any of these characters. I think the most I liked was the sister-in-law. But even then, I wasn't overly happy with her. I hated the husband, I hated the father. And the brother-in-law, I was creeped out by. I did not like. I thought he was disgusting. I thought he was horrible. And the sister, I felt she was selfish. But at the same time, I was happy that she still helped Young-hee in a way. But was it what should have happened? I don't know. Again, I don't know what I would have done in this situation. And this book is incredible because you feel for the one character you don't see the viewpoint of. I felt so many emotions for Young-hee. I wanted her to get better in whatever sense of the word that was, and I thought in the second chapter she was. I hurt for her and I hoped for her and I pleaded for her. I wanted her to do so much better. I was a vegetarian for a couple of years because I wanted to try. I had no specific reason, and even now I don't eat meat every day. I eat it a couple of times a week. But I had to go back to eating meat because I wasn't getting iron in my blood. I wasn't getting iron and I had an iron deficiency. And I felt much better after eating meat again, but I don't eat it every day. I can only imagine what she goes through. I don't think my vegetarianism is anything similar to hers. And maybe it was silly of me to compare it, but the way I feel for her, I want everything to work out for her. I want her to have a good life. And I know she just wants to be happy, and in the end, I think she's a delusional happy, but maybe that's what was right for her. I don't know. But I highly recommend this book. Take time in reading it, but read something happier on the side, because 2 weeks later, am still thinking about this book and what it was like. It's a very shocking book in its own way. I have another one of Kang's books to read on my bookshelf, and I have 2 others to buy. I have Greek lessons on my shelf, and I need to buy the White Book, and If We Do Not Part, I think is the book. But I hope to buy them soon and read them. I highly recommend this book, and let me know what else you recommend, and talk with you soon.